Going off grid. Perhaps we should all give it a try, because if you do this, you will feel stuff with no distractions. And I have led by example. I cycled all around Scotland, that is, using pedal power, and camped out in the wilds each night in a wee tent. I did this for 4 weeks, with no contact whatsoever with anyone. I had no phone with me, or radio, or any other form of communication for a whole month. I was completely cut off. And that is when you experience things deep in your soul. I set off from the bustling centre of Glasgow, heading along the busy A803, through the built-up areas of Springburn and Bishopbriggs. After a few more miles, I began to leave the city streets behind as I entered the much quieter country roads. I then cycled north through the villages of Torrance and Lennoxtown to finally reach the foot of the Campsie Fells. It was all peaceful there, and so I camped overnight in the glen, pitching my tent right next to the stream. It was midsummer with long days, and so I carried on with my epic journey, pedalling on to Aberfoyle, Tyndrum, and then over Rannoch Moor and down to Glencoe, and by late June I finally arrived at Durness Lighthouse on the extreme northwest point of the mainland. Next I cycled south again, around Loch Ewe, heading for Kyle of Lochalsh. I took the ferry over to Skye, cycling around the island and walking the Store Ridge. Eventually, travelling south and east, I passed through Dunfermline before pedalling over the bridge to Edinburgh. It was a 1,000-mile trip in total, always outside, living in a tent. The solitude of the journey changed my perspective on life. Everything became vivid and real. Something as simple as a bottle of clear and pure water appeared beautifully fascinating and precious to my awakened senses. I spent a whole day at Balmacara. It rained steadily for 12 solid hours, and so I pitched my tent and stayed inside with just a book for company. Of course, I had my wee stove, a tin of food and some water. I spent the entire day reading, and I've never felt so relaxed in all my life. A few days later, I dived off the cliffs at Durness, straight into the deep, dark water. I almost died as the sea was so cold. I suffered instant shock, and it was quite a struggle to get back on land as the current was strong and the rocks were razor sharp. They sliced my body like a shredder, but that's another story.